Thanks a lot for joining us in the very first episode of APA LA's brand new show called In Conversation With. I love that title. My name is Carsten Steinhausen, and I am APA LA's creative director and also board member. And since I'm normally behind the camera, I'm not used to this kind of a scenario. So I have my notes here. So excuse that. This new show will run every other Wednesday and always have a different guest as well as host. The new show is all about some stories of their career, personal projects, and work assignments, and more to come. So, but before I start, I want to introduce myself a little bit, that you know who you're dealing with, the host. I'm a digital artist and high-end retoucher, and I help visual professionals and photographers working in the advertising, film, fashion, and music industries bring their vision to life. I'm born in Germany, as you might can hear that, and my background is lithography and graphic design back in the conventional days. In the 90s, I started my own company called Design CSC, which happily goes strong still. And around 2000, I moved to LA, and from that moment on, I focused primarily on digital imagery. And I have the pleasure of working with some of the biggest names in the industry, company-wise and individual-wise, which includes, of course, also our very first guest, which is the photographer, Markku Lahdesmaki. Hi, Markku.
Hey, Carsten.
So real quick to tell.
Hello everyone, and it's great to be here today. So excited. So I can show a few of my images and tell some stories behind them.
Yeah, that's great. I'm so psyched about that. So real quick, for the guests who don't know you, Markku is born in Finland, working in the US, and known for many iconic images, both in advertising and in his personal work. Yes, we will see some of those commercial images, and Markku will tell us about himself and what's behind these award-winning series. So yeah, that's what we're gonna do here. I'm so happy that I'm the one who can have a chat with you today, Markku, because we worked on several projects before and still do, and I remember one of it was in 2014, and I was booked on a very exciting project for Toyota Highlander, and that included the Muppet family, and you were the brilliant photographer, on that campaign. So I'm pretty sure you remember that one, right?
Oh yeah, of course. It was a great campaign and very challenging campaign, and I was happy to have you on the retouching board group, so that made my life a little bit easier. I can show you 4 of those Muppet Highlander images, and after those images I can show you a few of my commercial advertising work images. So here we go. Okay, so this is the Muppets traveling, riding on a Highlander. Another one. So these images happen. We shot everything so that, like, first this car we shot in Los Angeles on a hilltop. And then the whole crew, we traveled to New York to shoot the Muppets in studio. And while we were shooting these Muppets, we were sort of like creating reflections from them and sort of like grouping them together exactly the same length that they're going to be inside the car. So try to make it all the perspective and everything to look very realistic.
Yeah, I remember that one.
And after shooting Muppets, we traveled back to California and shoot some background plates. And this background plate is actually from New York while we were there.
Yeah, I remember that one. Yeah, and I was so impressed, working with you, and never had worked with you, and I worked with a lot of photographers and companies, and had to deal with crazy plates which are not good, and I had to retouch the crap out of it. But your take on that and how you prepped these images were amazing. So thought through, and I had so many plates to work with, reflections on the car, etc. That was quite impressive.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, it always helps that when more of these plates and sort of like situations being well thought before the shoot, and we got all the possible plates to put into the retouching, so it helps it make it look real.
Yeah, heads up if I would wear one.
Okay, so let me show you a couple of those
exactly
those advertising images. Okay, so these two are campaign for Snickers chocolate bar. It was that famous campaign, "You Not Yourself When You're Hungry." This image was shot for San Diego Zoo.
So great.
This was for Nike. We were super lucky. We had that cloudy day when we were shooting the guy. This one is for Pioneer car speakers. So guy is saving his speakers, not worry about the car.
Take it.
Yeah, and this was for Microsoft server campaign. So we had these batteries always in different places around the world. So it was a cool campaign. This one was for Toyota Fit car. It's sort of like more economical car to drive, more economical than these Gaslers in the shop.
Great, love that.
Thank you.
So in between for our viewers, so at the end of our conversation, we will definitely have a little bit of Q&A. So just to mention that, because there were a couple of great questions coming in already while people were signing up and registered. So
yeah, I can't wait. I can't wait to hear the questions. Yeah, it's fun.
So Markku, let me get to the first one, which is, how did you get your start in photography all the way back?
Okay, so this one is going to be a little bit longer answer, but hope you don't mind. So,
not at all.
Photography was my first hobby, and the second hobby was playing guitar in a band and with my friends. And but I noticed, like, when I was playing in a band, that like most of my friends, they get better and faster guitar players than me. So I was focusing more photography, which was good. So my first camera I got, I think I was about 8 years old. It was simple, cheap camera with black and white film, and I got it from my uncle. He was working for small village newspaper. He wasn't a photographer there, but sometimes his photos were published in the newspaper, and that was always very exciting and interesting thing for me to see. And he also introduced me some music. He had this like a single, it was Dave Brubeck's Take 5 song. It's all classic jazz tune. It's an amazing song. And I'm still listening to that song every now and then, and just give me good mood and good vibes, good ideas sometimes. And so when I was 16, I got the sort of like summer job in Finland, in small town museum. I was shooting all the items in that museum for the catalog. And it was interesting. A few years ago, we went to check that museum, and I was asking like if they still got those archive photos of the items, and they went back to back rooms, and they found some of my images from that time, black and white, small print. That was exciting to see. So few years after that museum job, I started studio in Tampere. Tampere is second biggest town in Finland, and in my studio at that time I was just doing everything. It was wedding portraits of little kids, and few products, that's very simple products, that's every now and then. So that's what I did. And I got my first commercial job when this local Tampere-based advertising agency discovered me, especially the art director, Annie, and that's how I met my wife.
That's great.
Thank you. Yeah, it was good. So so the next big challenge for Annie and I was that we decided to move to London to work and learn more about the advertising and photography. And that time, London was mecca for advertising and photography, and I think it still is. So I got a job to work as an assistant with a photographer called Ray Massey. He was very well known still life studio photographer, and we shot a lot of sort of like amazing international campaigns. So I was really lucky to get that assisting job. And my wife, she started to work on the advertising agency called Anderson Lemke. And after assisting a couple of years in London, and I was shooting also there a few little jobs. And so we moved back to Helsinki, Finland. And because of all the experience we got and I got from London, I was able to start working with the best advertising agencies in Finland, with the best art directors, and that was really interesting experience. I mean, it's sort of like that work time in London. It worked out really well for us, so it was cool. I can show you a couple of images for you guys now from that time from
please.
Finland, what I was shooting. So here's one campaign for paint company over that time.
So if you go back, question.
Okay.
That is a painted backdrop, right?
Yes, it is.
That is amazing. I love that you see that, and you know that. Wow, I love that. This is great.
Yeah.
And the look and feel, the color panel.
There's a little story behind this image. What happened to me when I was shooting this? Because I remember I was setting up probably like 8 or 10 different strobe lights for this for the scene, And I always had this sort of like habit that I set up the lights and I start playing certain music, and then I go back behind the camera and I shoot my first Polaroid. So this time I set up all the lights. I put the music on. I went back behind the camera and shot the Polaroid. And it's like, wow, this looks pretty cool. It was looking so simple, nice lighting. And I noticed that like just one light of what I was setting up was firing. So from that on, I learned that to keep it as simple as possible, the lighting situations.
So one strobe from all of them.
One strobe.
That's great.
Yes.
This is a cool accident.
Yeah.
That's great.
So that's that.
Oh yeah.
These images are sort of like launch campaign for Apple computer in Finland. So it was called, that time it was called Apple Macintosh.
Mm. Very cool.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of, you know, both your commercial and your, of course, your personal projects. Do you want to tell us how you come up with your ideas for, especially for the personal projects?
It just happens, and it could be that when I'm traveling in the new places, new cities, new towns, new countries. So that's how it happens. But hey, I was going to tell you.
Right?
Sorry.
And on your travels, right? I guess you get a lot of
yes.
ideas. Yeah.
Yeah.
Go
but
ahead.
hey, I was gonna tell you a little bit more about what happened after Helsinki years and Finland. So, '93 we moved back. We moved to Los Angeles with 2 boys, and that time in LA, I was still working quite a bit for Finnish advertising agencies, and of course, all the Finnish art directors, they loved to fly to LA to shoot.
Mm-hmm.
And but also I was working for US agency same time. And 5 years ago, we got enough of LA traffic and we moved to Palm Springs. So that's where we're now.
That's great. I love Palm Springs and I love the desert. But I want to ask you real quick, because I want to start with your first personal project, which called the Brick Factory. And I think, you know, this is one of your earliest personal projects. Is that correct? And
yeah,
do you have anything to show?
I think I do. Let me see. Yeah, do you see this?
Not yet.
Okay.
But we will in a second.
Yes, a little technical. Okay,
yeah,
here we go.
The Brick Factory, I mean, they're amazing images, and you know, the expression on people's faces is quite something. And I'm pretty sure, you know, there's a story behind that, which we will hear soon.
Yes, I hope it's gonna go there. Okay, do you see this?
Yes. Absolutely.
Perfect.
Back in business.
Back in business. So yeah, this Brick Factory was one of the first personal series I shot, and this was the shoot was I shot this one in South Africa. I was there for shoot for PlayStation, and on the way to the location, I noticed that there's from the car window, I saw that like these sort of like brick pyramids, and there was also sign that says brick sales. And so after that PlayStation shoot, I talked to my local producer and I said like, should we go back to that brick factory and just see like maybe there's something interesting to shoot. And we came up with this idea that he's going to tell them that I'm interested in and studying brick making and brick factories, and that I would like to maybe take some couple of pictures of their place. And they said, yeah, no, just go ahead, and that's totally cool. So we got there, I got my camera ready and tripod, and I start walking around and shooting these brick pyramids or brick piles, whatever they're called. And so then quite soon they noticed from the office that I'm shooting more people than brick piles and the you know, the brick yard. So then they run to us and they said like, they asked to leave from the place really quickly, and we needed to actually run back to the car, start the engine, and just take away real quickly. But hey, I got maybe 2 or 3 memory cards full of images. This was interesting. When I was looking at this guy, I gave him these 2 bricks to hold and asked him to look at one of the bricks. And I noticed, like when I was looking at through the camera, that his face is the same shape then, and almost like the same color than these 2 bricks. So he's been probably working there quite a while.
Yeah, now that you say that, I can see it. But they also look kind of proud to being in the picture.
Yes.
Kind of, right?
They were. Yeah, they were proud.
I think also another one which stands out to me was another personal project was the one in China. And I know that there are some guests in the audience are dying to hear the story about that project. Show us a couple of pictures of that one and the story, as much as you want to share.
Okie doke, here we go. I hope it comes up now. I mean, right now. Okay. You see that? Yes. Yeah. Okay, so this series I shot in Guangzhou, China. I was there for Blackstone company from New York for their shoot, and I think the shoot for Blackstone, it was like several days, and during those days I was asking local people that if they know any cool places, anything interesting that I should go and check out for my personal images, something to shoot. So this one guy came to me one day and he said that like, hey, you should go and check this place, which I think it was called, and he called it Space Theme Park. So I went there with my local helper, and it was a very interesting place. It was like huge area with many buildings, some space team buildings, and they were selling tickets to that place. And the place was like really in a quite bad shape. It was like ceilings were leaking and light fixtures didn't work. So in sometimes when we were in the rooms that like it was totally dark. And while we were there, I came up with this idea that should we come back next day and with maybe a couple of guys wearing kind of like a military outfits and shoot some interesting images on the place. And my friend said like, yeah, no problem, let's do it. He'll find a friend, like a couple of guys, and they'll find military costumes for us, no problem. So next day we were on the way to that place in a minivan. Got 3 guys and my helper in the car, and I said like, hey, can I see those costumes? What you got for the shoot? And they pulled out from the plastic bags these sort of like American camouflage, very modern jackets and the pants. It's like, I said like, whoa, that's cool, but not exactly what I was thinking. I was thinking more like a vintage Chinese military outfits. And at that time we were driving by a big building. It looked like a federal building, and there was 3 guards standing in front of that building. And I said to my friend that like, hey, those are really cool looking outfits, that like those sort of like greenish jackets. And he said, okay, let's stop the car. He walked to the guards and started talking to them. Then they went somewhere behind the building, and my friend walked back, super big smile in his face, and he got all the outfits from those guys. And I don't know, maybe the building was standing there without the guards.
Or in underwear.
Maybe that would be even better, actually.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, but see, like this place in this photo, how strange it was.
Yeah, absolutely.
There was like this classic European-looking park statues mixed with space shuttle and rockets, and obviously these guys what we had with us. So.
That's amazing. It's really cool.
Thank you. This was really strange. Set there in one of the buildings. I have no idea that like what is it for, but there was like a little railing in front of this set, and I removed the railing, and I asked my guys just to go walk into the set and start discovering it, what's going on. And it's just like very mystical.
It looks almost like, they're miniature. They're all not real, but they are, right?
They are real. It's like this is like one shot, one frame. So it's
amazing. Wow.
Yeah. But that's what we did there.
Very cool. I mean, that is such a great story. And
great.
I was in Midland, China myself years ago, and I was booked to do a press check on a book project. And I remember these people were so helpful when you mentioned, they helped you all the way through. And that printer company, a big printer company, they had one guy just assigned for me personally 24/7 around the clock, just in order to help me out. That was a wonderful experience. And I had a similar one when I went to Sri Lanka, the island below India. And that guides me to your next project, which was also shot in India, which calls the Mumbai Taxi Company, which is a famous one. So you have to show something about your taxis, right?
Okay.
And look at your head.
Yeah, I'm the driver. One of the drivers. Yeah. So the slogan is anyone can be driver, in this company. So it's fine.
But
so
yeah,
you just need a hat. I got maybe 500 of these hats in my garage. So anyway, so this Mumbai taxi company, how it happened, I was in a shoot for that Blackstone company again, this time in India. I was shooting there some like solar fields for them and some couple of corporate portraits. And so that Blackstone commercial shoot, it took, maybe it was like 3 days. And after that, I had again that 3 days booked for myself. So when the Blackstone shoot was done, I went to the bar in my hotel and asking that if I can have like, I ordered the beer and a piece of paper and a pen, and that's what I got. And after a beer or maybe two, I got these sketches on the paper. Okay, so these are the sketches I made there in that bar. And so I decided that this is cool. I'm going to shoot, because there was like these yellow and black taxis everywhere in Mumbai. And so I'm going to shoot next couple of days, just like a taxis. It's always going to be profile of the taxi, different location behind it, and a different driver. And so that's what we did. We were sort of like driving in one taxi to place. And always when I saw new cool looking location, we stopped and we found another taxi and a driver, and we sort of like set up these scenes quickly.
That's great. Wow, they're all the same, right? All the same brand, or?
Yeah, this they used to be all the same brand that time. It was like based on Fiat. I think it's like 57-year model Fiat. It's called Fiat Premier, and I think these were made in India for taxis. But sadly, they took all these Fiat taxis out from the street this year, and they've been replaced with some Toyotas, Hondas, and just the regular cars. But it was sort of like very classic, cool scenes when you travel to India to see these millions of these taxis everywhere. But I was lucky to just document these images, shoot these images before they replace them with the other kind of cars.
Yeah, the combination, I think, is great, you know, when you pick these amazing locations and just stage these guys with their car, and they're so proud.
Yeah.
And that's very inspiring. And I'm a proud owner of that hat myself. So thank you, Markku, for that. And that relates to a story what I have myself on my travels. And I was booked, I remember, in New York, and it was on Broadway in the middle of beautiful Soho. And I was, after a long day of working, I went back to my hotel, the Soho Grand, and, you know, ordered vino and some good food, and just, you know, had a pen and paper or a notebook. And then that whole day was so inspiring, and I just had to have an output and tried drawing something. And then, you know, actually a year later, I took exactly that same drawing, and that was my next tattoo, which is funny, which is a drawing too.
Where's the tattoo? Is it in your hands?
No, it's on my arm.
Oh, okay. Okay.
And but, you know, I love how unexpected ideas come to life at one point. And, for me, it's very often, or most of the time when I'm traveling, for these things, which I think is amazing.
Cool.
Do you have another story for, especially when you travel?
Yeah, let me show you this, because I was sort of like, we were inspired with this Mumbai taxi. So a few years ago, my wife and we decided to go to Havana, Cuba, to shoot, because they got some classic old American car as a taxi. So we just wanted to go and see how they look, and we shot a couple of images over there. Let me show you those. So this is one.
Oh, very cool. Oh, this was a winner of APALA's Off the Clock exhibition last year.
Yeah.
That image.
Yeah.
Yes.
I was happy to get that, award.
Very cool. Nice district. That was a winner too. Markku,
That's
you're,
right.
You're famous.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So I can show you some more images, some traveling related things, ideas.
Mm-hmm.
So this next series is called Avanto. Avanto, it's a Finnish name for hole in the ice, where, like, if you go to ice fishing or you jump into the water in the wintertime. So it's called Avanto. So we were visiting in Finland. Let me go to this sharing right now. Okay, we were visiting in Finland a couple of years ago. The weather was freezing cold. It was like minus 24 Celsius some days, which is like minus 11 Fahrenheit. So I wanted to go, when we were in Finland, I wanted to go and see my favorite summer swimming place, how it looks like in the wintertime, and maybe take a couple of empty scene photos. But when I got to that place, I was so surprised that place was full of people just wearing bikinis and swimming trunks. And myself, I was looking like a North Pole adventurer with my fur hat and puffy jacket. So anyway, I started to take some photos because it just looked very cool to me. And of course, the temperature was so cold that the battery in my camera died really quickly. And
wow.
But I went back there a couple of times, a few more days, and these Finns, they didn't mind for me taking photos at all. And they asked, like, if when I'm done, when I got enough photos and done my shooting, I need to do the same thing, go to that hole in the ice in the lake and do a little swimming there. So I kept my promise, and I did maybe 6 times, and it was really great experience. This is not me, that's someone else.
This is, I'm getting cold
that's not me
already.
That's not, yeah. But see, like, you can do in the lake wintertime, you can swim there, you can ski, you can.
Yeah, look at the guy in the back. He's in a total different, scenario.
Yeah.
Different mind. That's so cool.
Exactly. Yeah, they're both happy.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. They all look happy. I would freeze my ass off. I'm not into cold, so
yeah. But I do that every time I go back to Finland. If I go like a winter time, I just want to do the same thing again. So I'm into it.
Yeah,
Okay.
I mean these are all captured so authentically and also framed beautiful. I love that.
Thank you.
That was great. I have another question. What drives you to these personal projects? And do you have a personal project which actually led you to, an actual job assignment?
Yeah, your first question. I think it's just like to work on the personal images that it's very inspiring, and it leads to another ideas, and obviously it's very good for a photographer have personal images in a portfolio, because that really shows what your style is, or what you can create on your own. So so yeah, and your another question about that, if there's a campaign that I was able to book a job because of that personal images. So there's one, let me go back to screen sharing.
That was Markku Polo, right?
Yes, you're correct.
We worked together on that a little bit.
Exactly, yeah. And I'm happy about that, because that was nice ending. So
me too.
So this one is called Markku Polo, and
brilliant name, by the way.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. So in Coachella Valley, which is close to Palm Springs, there are these big polo fields. They called El Dorado and Empire Club. And the most people know this area because of the Coachella Music Festival. So this is exactly the same area. If you go to Coachella Music Festivals, it's all the music happening in these fields, and it's interesting.
Gorgeous.
So last year we got this idea that we should go and check out these fields when there's a polo games going on, and the season is during the winter months, and so next 5 weekends after that, checking that out, we went back there again and again, checking the games, exploring stables, and making new friends, knowing more horses and the polo players. And believe it or not, this cloud, as it was behind her when I was shooting that. It was pretty amazing. It looks like a whale to me.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah. This one I shot with Fish Islands. So the horse, when he was riding in front of me, it was super close.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And you know this image because you
helped
me on this
I
one?
remember that.
Yeah. It was funny. I was watching this game, and this dog sort of like dropped this ball in front of me, and I was kicked it away, the ball, and the dog ran away behind the ball, bring it back to me maybe 10 times, like, oh, this is boring. so then I was thinking that, hey, let's make this as a photograph, like I just throw the ball and the dog is bringing ball back to me, and the polo team is sort of like riding behind him
or attacking him.
yeah anyway, so that's
great.
That's that.
And then there were also some of the Markku Polo shots which got as a winning image in the new APA of the Clark exhibition book and show of this year. That's great. But you said
let me
go ahead.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, so as you asked, like if there's this Markku Polo, series, it sort of like gave me, or sort of like helped me to get a job earlier this year.
That would be my question.
Yes, that was your question.
Yes.
Yeah. So let me show you this. So so this job earlier this year was to shoot sort of like cowboys, Native Americans with horses in Montana for Ariat Clothing Company. So this is what we shot in Montana.
Yeah, that's great.
And thank you, Karsten. You were helping to bring these images. So it was.
It was my pleasure, and it was great as always to work with you on a campaign. And these beautiful images are stunning, absolutely stunning.
Thank you.
Yeah. I mean, thanks for having me on that project, Markku.
Thank you.
I think that was a great project.
Thanks for helping to
I
get
wish
that
I was
like a light in life. I mean, it's always so big help when I can sometimes build these images in some levels, but when I hand it to you and you send it back to me, it's like, whoa, I didn't. It's like a big difference. And thanks.
Markku, thank you for the flowers. I mean, this was so beautiful, and I wish I was booked together with you on that project in Montana. And especially as a horse owner myself, I would, and a nature addict, I would be so happy to be with you on that location, which I love, to go on location and travel on that.
Maybe next time.
Yeah, you know where to find me. I have another question for you, which is about the approach for your commercial work. Is that any different compared to your personal work?
That's a good question. I think commercial work is, it's always a lot of preparations, thinking, try to think all the possible problems before, and planning colors, models, camera angles, and everything, so that the shoot will be smooth without any hiccups. And but when going to personal projects, it's more like just walk into the scene and seeing like what's happening. Sometimes get lucky, sometimes there's something interesting, but it's much more instant.
Mm-hmm. Can start with the drawing, as we saw.
Yeah.
Which is great. Yeah.
Right, exactly.
This reminds me, or brings me to a personal favorite project of yours, which I am a big fan of, and this is about the human-like robot called Nobo. And I don't know if anybody saw these really amazing images. And there's a very cute and great story behind that. And he's very famous on Instagram. So if everybody wants to follow Nobo, N-O-B-O, on Instagram, please do. You will be surprised.
Yeah.
Do you have a couple of images to show?
I do, but just correct one of the things you said, like he's not yet very famous in Instagram, but he will be.
Oh, for me, he's very famous.
Oh, okay.
One day I will meet him and have a beer with him.
Yeah, I can arrange that. That's fine.
Let's see.
Okay, so here is Nobo. So this Nobo, he's a guy or girl. He's a robot, and he's been with us many years. And it was made by model maker in England years ago for a job. I sat here in the US, and it was a job for Finnish advertising agency. But I was able to keep him because we kind of like built this relationship while I was shooting these commercial images with him. So he's been standing in our garage for many years and always looking at me when I'm entering there. That like, hey, do you want to shoot something? And so we came up with this sort of like idea maybe a year ago that Nobo was the first robot created and built in California by multimillionaire man called Frederick Dillon and his family. That's just like the opening sentence for the story. But anyway, the Nobo story is about his adventures in the world in California, and he's not perfect. He was really perfect, but then there's going to be some hiccups in his behavior. So wait for that. So anyway, that this is how he was programmed years and years ago. And so the way we are creating these images is that I'm just searching a lot of pictures in eBay and maybe sometimes in antique stores. And when I'm finding something that it could create a nice story with Nobo, so I'll just buy the image and set him up in the studio or wherever we're gonna go with him. And he's amazing to work with, because sometimes he can be hours or even days in the same pose and not complaining at all. You know, it's just like standing there. So
he's not complaining.
No, I haven't
Nice.
heard any complaints. You know,
so he has a good attitude.
Very good.
Nice. Look at that. So this is a personal picture of a private person, what you just purchased, and then you placed him in.
Yeah, this picture I found, I believe, in eBay. It was just someone's personal photo from family
Cool.
you know, albums, and so I placed him there.
Such a great idea. You look at that. It's such a great idea to do that.
It's fun. It's just like very different than any other commercial work or personal projects I've been doing. So it's just fun to shoot something every now and then and finding these images and create the stories.
Love it.
I think this could be a nice book at some point, you know.
Yeah, I agree. Very cool. He's the operator.
Yeah. Sometimes he doesn't know why he's doing or why people are doing something. It's like he's the guy behind there is like digging something from that barrel, and he's just doing what he's doing.
But he's copying the other guy, which was behind him, right?
Yes.
Yeah. This is great. This is great. Even with the old pattern of these Polaroids, right?
Yeah, this was like really small family photo with that sort of like pearl finish in the paper, so you can see that texture.
Amazing.
And here we are together.
Nice. Yeah, good. You're buddies. I can see that already. Wonderful. Okay. I love it. People go on Instagram, Nobo, N-O-B-O, follow it. And there are so many different pictures which blow your mind in these different scenarios. I love it. maybe I meet him one day. I say it again. So
Anytime.
I have
Okay.
a question, another one because I'm pretty sure there are younger people in the audience who are maybe, on their way to a career as a photographer, etc. Do you have any advice for them to start their career or how to begin, and give them some advice?
It's hard question. It's works differently, different people, but just always stay curious, shoot, photograph a lot of different things, and do a lot of mistakes and learn from the mistakes. And sometimes when you do the mistakes and you check that mistake, it could look actually better than what you were planning to do. So it's just that way, and keep it also fun.
Mm-hmm.
That's how I'm trying to keep my photography always like it, so it's a little bit fun.
Yeah, I get it. I mean, just asking that question, it sounds like it's hard to answer, right? Because it's so individual, right? Personality, and everybody has a different approach and goal eventually.
Exactly.
So I think time-wise, I think we are ready for a couple of Q&As, if you're okay with that.
Yeah, I'm fine.
Yeah. Okay, let's jump to the very first question, which I like, and it comes from Germany. There we go, all the way international, from Celia.
Wow.
And she's asking, what kind of pictures did you take when you got hold of your first black and white camera as a child?
I think, I can't really remember, but I think it was just like a shooting maybe some buildings, trees, fields. Maybe I'd photograph my mom, my sister, just anything really. But I think shooting like a trees in the middle of the field or something like that could be pretty close.
Okay, cool. And then the next one is from Marcus. I don't know where he is, and he is asking, do you have any plans to exhibit somewhere in Scandinavia or at Paris Photo in the coming years?
Not any exact plans, but I'm just like, it's been sort of like cooking all the time a little bit. So probably, hopefully it will happen. Scandinavia or Finland. I mean, Finland is Scandinavia, but anywhere there. So, or even US could be nice.
Okay. The third one is from Juamati. I'm sorry if I say it wrong. And he says, how does your Finnish roots show in your work, or does it?
I think it sort of like shows in my style. Sometimes it may be more simple style and simplified images, and maybe the humor in some of my images, I think it's something more subtle than American humor.
Okay. Are you ready for another one?
Yeah.
So then we have one from Michael Kirchhoff. How have you personal images informed your commercial work? Do you carry the same sensibilities in both, or do you keep them separate? Have there been any instances where you've used a past personal image as a component in a campaign?
Not exactly, but I think a lot of art directors, sometimes they want to look more personal images than commercial work. what photographer has done. And they a lot of time they asking to bring that sort of like field of that personal series into the campaign, but sometimes it happens a little bit, but most of the time the client has the idea, they see in the layout, they want to stick into the layouts, and but it's probably affecting decision makings and that sort of things every now and then.
Mm-hmm.
If that's
okay. And then let's say our last question for today is from Jim Purden. We know him, also board member at APA. Let me see. What's your advice about how and when to have your creative ideas worked into the campaign? Do you wait until you are awarded the job, or do you suggest specific ideas in your creative treatment to get the job? Can you talk about an example of a campaign where you were really able to elevate and bring your own vision to the project?
That's a hard question. It sometimes it happens if there's a clear way how to see the campaign coming in life, and if we can do it that for the treatment, that's really works out well. But sometimes the treatment is more about figuring out how to do it, and then these decisions how to make it look more like some of the personal images. It's happening when choosing the locations and talents and shooting different camera angles in the location. So there's no really clear answer for that, but it happens every now and then.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was a tough one. Sorry. But it was good. I mean, great last words, Markku. So I thank you so much for all your amazing story. And it was a great pleasure, especially for me, talking with you today. And I wish you a lot of great projects in the future, commercial or personal. And maybe I can help you with some of them.
I think I know who to call if I need some help. So
yeah,
I will give you a ring.
So any last words?
No, I think just like I hope everyone stays happy and positive, and we move on.
Yes, exactly. Absolutely. That's my motto. Not a panic personality.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Markku. And at this point, APLLA will also thank our longtime sponsor, which is Sammy's. So we are back in 2 weeks with another show of In Conversation With. And on that second episode, we have photographer Hugh Kretschmer as a guest. And he will be interviewed by Elizabeth Karen, and both are APA board members. Looking really forward to hear what they have to say. And so please don't miss to sign up for that one on apala.org. And thank you all for watching, and don't stay out of trouble. Thank you so much, everybody. Bye.
Bye.